Pi Manuel, Pi Fadero.
What's your language?
Well, pretty much I speak my mother's tongue. That's the way we're taught, eh?
Yeah.
The Navajo language, and they say I was always taught that you speak your mother's tongue to honor her.
Yeah.
And so that's what I speak.
Yeah. So lovely. I was there last week. I was on Navajo lands and then on the Hopi lands.
Yeah.
So I was listening to. I love Navajo radio.
Yeah.
I love listening to the language. I just love listening to the language. Driving along in the car, going, "Oh, it's so good to hear you guys." Yeah, that's so lovely. It's a lovely language.
Yeah.
Really
So
nice.
so I speak that, and then on my dad's side there were Kiowa and Cheyenne, so I kind of have a understanding of that, and then Dakota language and stuff. So
wow.
yeah, so language is beautiful.
It is,
and it really makes. For me, when I speak English, it doesn't mean nothing. It loses its color.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so when I speak the language, it really glows with color. You know, you truly understand to the point what you're gonna say.
Yeah.
But when you speak in English, it's just so I don't know.
The goodness is sucked out of it all, eh?
Yeah.
Because I remembered that you spoke a number of languages, and of course we've only got one language in New Zealand. So, and I just thought that would actually be interesting for people watching this going, wow, he's got all these languages.
Yeah.
Not only does he have all these wonderful tribal relationships, but he's got all these languages he's got to understand as well. So that's a challenge we haven't had to face, but
yeah, and I guess that's kind of makes the basic understanding, eh? So and for me, I think it was last year I went to a conference where they were talking about language, and they were saying that 2050, I think it was, there's going to be only 4 indigenous language in Canada. This is just in Canada.
wow.
And then I was just like, it can't be. I was just thinking.
No.
But at the same time, it's like we gotta speak these language. We gotta keep going, and that's why English is languages. It's you gotta speak it because it's all in school. It's all in everything you do, workplace and such, right?
Yeah.
And it's just it's and then you have our kids into video games, which are all in English, movies, music, they're all in English, and yet it's just like we're always competing with all these things trying to make language important. But
and it's not just us. I mean, the French are going insane because, of course, everything online and, as you say, with music and stuff is in English. And, the French are finding that they're having real trouble holding on to their language as well. And, I mean, that's a really big country, and I'm laughing about it. But it is the domination of English because of the internet, eh?
Yeah.
That's just actually what's happened. And I guess we have a little bit of an advantage of that. I mean, if it had been China that invented the internet, we all had to learn Chinese.
Yeah.
That probably would have put more of a challenge on our indigenous languages where we've already got English kind of happening. So maybe we're a little bit lucky that way. We can kind of turn our back on the internet in English and have our whai kōrero or our conversations in our own languages.
Yeah. But language is very important because it makes. My grandpa used to say that it makes everything come to life.
Yeah.
When you acknowledge everything, when you talk about certain things in the language, you make things come to life.
Yeah.
And
you're just kind of carrying that history of all of your tupuna
Yeah.
ancestors who have used the same words in the same
Yeah.
context, and that responsibility is kind of, as you say, it settles on you, doesn't
Yeah,
it? It's just a wonderful feeling. Yeah, and I guess, you know, for the kids that have been stuck in cities and things, when they get to come back on anybody that's Indigenous land
Yeah.
and stand there and go, oh, this is part of me.
Yeah.
Not my tribe, but it's still part of me. Because I know you have children here, young people who are from different tribal lands that come here,
Yeah.
but they must still find quite a sense of self in such a beautiful spot.
Yeah. Well, they all come from different areas, territories, you know, and we find that they're trying to find their way, find their spot on Mother Earth, you know, because these kids that come through the Leading Thunderbird Lodge are kids of they carry this residential school syndrome, right? Even though they don't know it, but they are. But culture is what makes them start to understand their value within themselves, right? To understand who they are, and then to even understand their awareness of what's around them,
Yeah.
you know, and meaning relation, right?
Yeah.
And that's just kind of like so cultural is the big cultural and language is very important.
Yeah.
So that's why I say that LTL, even the horizontal curriculum, it's all set up to address that sovereign person
Yeah.
within them.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important. Like for me, I always think about like when I'm helping these kids, I'm always thinking how would my grandparents say it, or how would they deal with it if they were to help. And so I'm always doing that, and also like thinking back and how would they use creation stories or man role, or how would they use the language to address these things. And so I go through the motion of cultural language and, you know, the creation story of things, right?
Yeah.
So that way it really addresses, because our culture is everything: psychology, sociology, philosophy, everything.
Yeah.
And we gotta start understanding it is,
Yeah.
instead of trying to always say, well, I'll go see a counselor. But what does a counselor that doesn't understand our language or even our culture can do for us?
Yeah.
Pee, 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 ma.